Hey guys, let's talk about reflections today. So reflections, think about what you already know. Reflections creates the flip. So our mirror image, think about symmetry, what you know with that. That's what reflections are. We're going to fold it over and create the mirror image. Okay. Reflections preserve congruence, so the shape is going to stay the same shape and same size. We're just going to flip it so it's facing a different direction and in a different location. All right, so here we go. A reflection is a transformation that flips a figure over a line of reflection. Okay, you might know that as your line of symmetry, your line of reflection. That's where you would fold it and create the mirror image. Okay, today's in particular, we're going to focus on the axes, our y and x axis, and what happens to our coordinates when we perform a reflection. All right, so let's look at a reflection over the y-axis. The y-axis is our vertical axis. So we are focused on this axis right here. And you'll notice we have two triangles. On the right side is the original, and I know it's the original because it doesn't have prime notation. And on the left side, we have our new image, okay? And I know that because it does have the prime notation. So notice if I were to flip over the y-axis, if I flipped over that, I would get a mirror image. All of those points would land on top of each other if I could fold that paper in half. Okay, so let's look at what this means for our coordinates. So we have our original points already on our paper. All right, and so let's look at the coordinates for our new shape, our image here. So A prime is at -1, 4. B prime is at -1, 1. And C prime is at -4, 3. So when you look at this, looking at our x and our y, right? We have the same numbers, except when you look here, our x's became negative, right? And if you look at the rule for flipping over y, that's what you get. Okay, so when we flip over y, we're going to change the signs of the x coordinate. The y stays the same because we still need everything to line up, but the x values have to be opposite signs. Okay, so that's when we flip over the y-axis, the vertical axis. Now if we flip over the x-axis, which is our horizontal axis, so this time we're focused right on this one. Okay, imagine I folded that in half on that line. That's where we create the mirror image. Okay, so those points, if we folded it in half, would land right on top of each other. Okay, so this time we have our original, the pre-image, and now we're looking at the image, our new one. Let's list the ordered pairs and then we'll look at what that pattern is. So we have 1, -4. We have 1, -1 for B prime, and C prime is 4, -3. So this time still the same numbers, but now the signs changed on the y values, right? And that's what our rule tells us to do. It says keep x the same. Notice all the x's stayed the same number, but now we change the signs on the y coordinates. And if you know what a reflection is, you don't have to memorize the rule because you can draw it out and show yourself, oh, what's happening? Imagine if you fold it in half, what do you get on the other side? Okay, so let's practice this a little bit. We're going to draw the image, so the new shape of quadrilateral, that's a four-sided shape, ABCD, after a reflection, so we're thinking flip over the y-axis. So we're flipping over the y-axis. All of those things are important to pay attention to. Where are you flipping? What's going on? All right, so let's write our coordinates and then we'll do the flip. So A is at -5, 1. B is at -5, 4. C is at -1, 3. and D is at -2, 1. Okay, for it to be a mirror image, then when I copy these points, they should be the equal distance apart from the line of reflection, right? So C is 1 away, so C prime would have to be right there, right? B have to go over 5, so this one has to go over 5 as well to give me B prime, right? So you're just matching the distance. D is 2 away, so it has to be 2 away. And A is 5 away in line with D, so A prime is right there. We connect our dots. It should be the same shape, same size. It's just been flipped. We have the mirror image. If I fold it along the y-axis, that's how I would get the new shape. Okay, so when I write my coordinates, A is now 5, 1, so x is negative, y stays the same. B, x is negative, so it's now positive 5, and we keep the y, right? C, x is the opposite, and keep the y. X is the opposite, so 2 for D, and keep the y, right? So when we flip over the y-axis, we're going to make x the opposite sign, okay? So flipping over the y-axis, we're going to change the sign of x. But notice if I know what a reflection is, notice I could draw my picture and boom, there we have it, okay? All right, let's do this one more time. We have line segment AB has endpoints A, -2, 3, and B, 2, 1. Draw the line segment, okay? So a line segment is just a part of a line. Then draw the image of the line segment after a reflection, so thinking flip, over the x-axis. So we're looking at the horizontal, which means change the signs of the y-coordinate. Whoops. Got ahead of myself with talking and writing. Change signs of the y-coordinate. All right, so let's draw our first line segment. So remember, this is our original, the pre-image, and then we're going to find our new. Okay, so -2, +3 is right here. 2, 1, so +2 for x up to 1. Okay, there's my line segment. When we flip it, so imagine folding over, where would that all stack up? Well, B is just 1 away from the x-axis, so it has to be 1 away from the x-axis here, and it's lined up, right? Because I fold it and it should lay on top of each other. A is 3 away from the x-axis, so it has to be 1, 2, 3 away on the other side. There's my mirror image, right? So my new coordinates, I keep the x, but change the sign of y. So y is now -3, and that matches my picture. B prime, keep the x, change the sign of y. It's now -1. So when we flip over the x-axis, we change the sign of y. Okay, so those are reflections. Think about what you know with symmetry. Think about mirror image. If you could fold it in half, what would the image look like on the other side?